So I'm just having a think about this photograph, whether to do the painting, where to have the horizon, because it's kind of tricky. Just moving it about a bit. I don't want it bang in the middle, but I've got to think about what I'm going to do with all this space. It's quite nice because there's texture on the board already, so there will be stuff going on. So I might have it like that, or I might bring it like that. Can't decide. I mean, Norfolk is big skies, but at the same time, I think that, bearing in mind I've got all that texture, might be, I might just cut a little bit off the top of the cloud there. Go this way a bit. Anyway, it's just a reference, just to, as a starting point, but to give me an idea. I haven't quite decided, but so I'm looking at this photograph, which I've now decided that's the right composition. And I've got red, blue, yellow, the three primaries. That's alizarin, ultramarine, lemon yellow. They're all slightly transparent or transparent. And this is basically light and dark, raw umber, titanium white. So I kept this old palette because I like the colours on there. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking I'm not going to do it in those kind of realistic colours. I'm going to try and look at the tone and then transpose, if you like, the tone into a different colour palette than is actually there. So I'm going to use this as the dark, and then I'm going to use these kind of pinky lovely colours as the sand, and then yeah, I'm just going to take it from there. So the first colour I'm going to make is this foreground, which is quite dark. If you look at it compared to white, you can, if you cut all the other colours out and you look at it, it's quite dark. So I'm going to start with a bit of raw umber to, obviously it's not that dark, is it? So but I'm going to adjust the tone once I've got the kind of colour. So I think it's a bit of raw umber and with a little bit of pinky in it, a bit of white just to be able to see the colour. Now that's what I'm trying to make. So I've got too much pink in there, so I'm going to add quite a bit more brown. There we go. Now that's too dark. Too dark, too dark, but it's on the right kind of colour. So you don't need much white. It's really, titanium white is a really strong white. It just changes it really quickly. So now you see that's quite red. I'm going to put a tiny bit of blue in that now, which will take it into another realm of colour. How are we doing? No, still not quite right. So going a little bit more blue. It's getting that greyness, but it's too light, so I'm going to put a bit of white in. It's getting there. So that is more or less, it's a little bit warmer. It's got a little bit too much red in, but it's fine. It's the right tone. It's the right amount of light or dark. It's going to work well in the foreground. So I'm going to mix some cold wax in with that now. I've literally made it with a bit of red, a bit of blue, a bit of raw umber and some white to get it to the right tone. And it's about there. So I'm going to mix some cold wax with that and get that into the foreground now. Right, where is that cold wax? Here it is. Tubbity tub. Need a clean. Here we are, that one. That's the one I use for this. I don't want to add more than 50% cold wax. So that's about right there. I haven't made up very much because it's just a starting point really, but I'm going to get that on there now. Oh, that's what I'm looking for. It's clean, more or less. So that is going to go in the foreground. Here we go. How much foreground is there? Well, it's about, let's say it's a quarter. I've got a kind of line there which could be the horizon. I haven't put that on, that's just the way it turned out. Right, I'm going to put this in the foreground here. It doesn't really matter exactly how far it goes, it's just a starting point. Right, I'm going to go in and do this lighter area now. That was the dark area coming from the bottom, which I've got. I'm just going to get something that's a little bit pinkier, not too much. I put some brown in with it and some white. It's still too strongly pink at the moment, so I'm going to put a tiny bit of blue in and a bit more brown, a bit more brown, a bit more white, a bit more white and a bit more red. Now I think it could be the same sand. Right, I've made this lighter sand colour, so I'm going to now have a look at this. Roughly, I'm going to put it around, let's think, that's coming up here, that's going to be there, put it around here. There we go. Doesn't have to be accurate because the adjusting it is the fun bit really. So at the moment, and it's the adjusting it is the bit that makes you realise what it is you're painting rather than what's in your mind, or vice versa. Right, here we go. So I'm just getting some coverage there on that. Pull that up and down and put